thank you all for joining me for this meeting. I just kind of want you guys to go around and introduce yourselves so I have a refresher on who each person is, if that's okay. Whoever wants to start.
I can start. My name is Morgan. I'm the secretary for, or the treasurer for the city council.
Okay.
I'm Caitlin, and I am head of the funding department.
Perfect.
I'm Jensen. I spoke with Jade prior to the meeting. I'm a city councilman as well.
All right. Thank you all for introducing yourself, just so I'm on the same page with you all. Before we start, does anybody have any questions about the proposal?
I do not.
Nope.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of go over the proposal itself and kind of just start from the beginning. That way, whoever's taking notes, I think, Caitlin, you said that you would take notes.
Yeah,
To take it back to the other city council members, just so you kind of know where I started and kind of where I want to go with this. So starting out, what it is I want to implement a new city park for downtown, and been kind of researching this for over a year now. I have done a survey. So I conducted a survey to see like what the top priorities would be for like the community members that live within the city limits are looking for. So I kind of want to go through some of those so you guys kind of have an idea as far as budgeting and the plan for the park, like how big it is and kind of where we need to go from here. So the survey kind of started out small, and then I added a few more things due to the priorities. So some of what the park is planning on including is play equipment, bike trails, a pond, benches like alongside the trails, possibly a splash pad for like children, but I know those can be pretty costly. Basketball courts, gazebo, and tennis courts. Do you guys have any questions about what was included?
Nope, I think that sounds pretty good.
Do you guys have any suggestions as far as changes goes?
I think the water splash idea, I think they mentioned for like kids, is a really good idea. I know that you did say it could be costly because as far as like, water and I mean just the idea, but I think that brings a lot of people in.
Yeah, that's kind of my intention, is to bring more of a larger crowd, I guess, to get families, getting them to be able to do things together there, but also having like those individual activities like the tennis courts and basketball courts.
Yeah.
So moving on from what is included in the proposal, I know Caitlin, I think it was Caitlin, had some questions about like funding, kind of where we're going to go from that. Do you have any questions before I kind of give an overview?
Yeah, I was just wondering like who was funding exactly and where the funding was coming from, if there's like community involvement and whatnot, just because if the community members are obviously contributing to this funding, I just wondered how that would work.
Yeah. So as far as the funding goes, I've done a little bit of research within the past year and kind of reached out to other cities that have, got a park up and going in the community and kind of what it takes, and maybe some outside organizations that could help with the funding. So what I did find, there are a few grants we could apply for, and that would entail me doing most of the legwork. I would need you guys, to kind of help me with that, but that'd be mostly be put on me. So there is a play and park structures. It's an organization, so they kind of work with the splash pad, as well as just the equipment in general, and being able to fund that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think
So-
that was my only.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, that was my only question for funding.
Okay. So as well as the Parks and Play structure for a grant, I also have the City Park Alliance. It's also an organization that helps funding. So we do have options as far as that goes. Any concerns with funding at this point?
How confident would you say you are that you would get those grants or those monies that you're looking for?
So like I said, I've been working on this for over a year, and I have some pretty good research. And as far as the survey goes, we do kind of, the community members have been pushing for this, and nobody's really been taking the steps to kind of do this. So I've kind of taken this on for myself with little help. So I think that I feel pretty positive that we can move forward with this. As far as the funding goes, I think that just, getting a good person, I have history with grant writing. I think maybe trying to find somebody else, maybe one of my colleagues, to help look over something like that would be able to be more beneficial for us to be able to kind of push through the whole grant writing process.
Okay. My other question I lost. Oh, if I think of it, I'll come back to it.
Okay, sounds good. So some other things that I kind of want to talk about was, what do you guys feel right now, I guess, since you haven't really talked to anybody about it, how do you feel the community would help, some community organizations, how do you feel like they would help fund the city park?
Community organizations. I mean,
I think you go, Caitlin.
no, go ahead.
Okay. I think that overall it's a very good idea. I think that the community would definitely benefit, especially it sounds like you're very confident in your pitch and your like your sell kind of. So I think doing the same to community organizations and things that would benefit from people coming into the community to utilize the park. I think that would be big for like getting funding from them.
Okay. Do you think that there's enough bigger corporations and community businesses that would help contribute to the city park?
I think so. What do you guys think? What do you think, Morgan and Caitlin?
I think that I think there's enough businesses that are going to want to pitch in and help build the park and stuff like that. I don't think it's really like the businesses that is a concern more or less than like community members maybe having a problem with certain parts of the park, just because like it's going to draw a bigger crowd and more people, which is really good. But also I think it might have a problem with like the homeless population growing. And I think some people might have a problem with that aspect of it. So I don't think it's necessarily like the community businesses or organizations that wouldn't want to contribute to that. Because I think as a whole, they would look at it as a positive too.
Okay.
I think it's the community members maybe.
Okay. So kind of what I'm hearing is that you're feeling more so like the funding and the support is there, but more so the problem of, the homeless population taking over like the park area?
Yeah, just like, because you mentioned there was basketball courts,
Tennis courts.
Tennis courts, a trail, right?
Yeah.
And so I think obviously like if you have a trail and stuff like that, you're gonna have like benches and like picnic tables and stuff like that. And I mean, I don't want to sound rude by any means, but those are all like spaces that homeless people would be able to utilize. And I don't know, like with our growing population, of how that would look like, how our community members would feel if they're on the trails, or they're going to let their kids go out and have homeless people sleeping on the side. Like, would you feel safe as a parent? Stuff like that, I think we might have a problem with.
Yeah, I definitely can understand like your concerns with that. It is something that I've kind of looked into, because I've talking with other people, community members of different city parks. They've kind of had small issues, nothing like on a large scale to where it would be concerning. But once I started looking, I kind of thought maybe limited hours, maybe it's a gated park. How do you guys feel about something like that?
So I've been kind of just writing down some questions that I had about what you guys have all talked about. And that was one of my questions was kind of to go off of what Caitlin said. For the homeless population, would we gate off, the entrance or the whole entire park so that way the homeless would not be able to get in? Would we have specific hours that the park is only open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.? And then I'm sorry if I missed this, but what area is the park going to be in? Do you know if there's a high crime rate in that area?
Yeah, so as far as the crime rate goes, the crime's pretty low, but as within the last year, it's gone up, as well as the homeless population. So I've just kind of been watching those types of things, because I figured, you would ask those types of questions, because it is a concern to me too. Obviously, I don't want to put something that's, of danger to others. So I've been kind of watching those numbers. So the crime rate's pretty low. And the crime is more so like the businesses surrounding, like break-ins and people stealing things, that type of thing. So as far as crime, it's pretty low at this point.
Okay. And to feed off Caitlin again as well, the homeless population, I think now that she said that, that's bringing up more of a concern for me, because typically with the homeless population, we see a lot of drug use. So if this population comes in to this park and we have children there, we have the water park, and there's needles that have been used, we have to think about the safety of the children and the community members as well.
Yeah, most definitely. I definitely see where this could put a damper on the plan. Do you guys think that the community, since it is kind of like a higher end community, do you feel like having a gated park and surveillance with security is something that we could maybe look into to getting funding for that as well?
Right. Yeah. And I think those are very valid concerns that Morgan and Caitlin are bringing up as far as the homelessness, even drug use, say you have like teenagers walking in and out, things like that. Just the safety of not only kids, but the community as a whole. I think those are very like possible things that you have to think about beforehand. But I also think about, like Jade, you mentioned maybe like a gate or security or cameras, things like that could maybe prevent against those things. I think those are things to take into consideration too, that I think that would be very beneficial.
Okay.
And I had thought of a question earlier, so I'm going to revert back to that real quick.
Sure.
The grants that you're looking into, are they grants within our community? Are they state, federal?
So a couple different options I have. I do have a couple local grants I'm looking at, to kind of bring in the community, just because I want them to be involved, and have a say and all of that sort of thing. But the one is a statewide grant, so it's only there's only so much time we have as far as like applying for it, and the amount of like money that they give out too is limited per year. So there is stipulations with that, but there were a couple different options we could look into as far as like statewide grants go. But I would love to keep it local, but I know sometimes that's just not feasible.
Okay. Yeah, my thought process on that is just the sustainability of the monies that we're going to be getting in, because if we need a security system or security guards, anything like that, we're going to need those monies and we're going to need it continuously.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. I think that securing more so local organizations and grants might be more beneficial for this type of thing. Just because we are going to need, the maintenance with it and all of that. I understand what you're saying as far as continuous, money coming in. So I understand that. I also was kind of wanting to propose possibly doing, since you are worried about like the homeless population, what about like passes, like daily passes or family passes per year or something like that? Do you think that would even be an option?
Like, would those be distributed to like, I don't know, like everyone? I guess who would those passes be given to?
Yeah,
'Cause,
so
like,
I was thinking kind of more so like daily passes to help kind of fund um being able to have the park, or adding things later or upkeep or something like that. Whatever the money would go to later would be fine. That could be decided later, but I was thinking like a family of 5 could purchase a yearly pass and be able to come in, and that would help with the funding issue with maybe the splash pad or extra activities they could do or something like that. But then it would also maybe risk, I don't know. I feel like it could be a positive and it could be a negative. So I just kind of wanted to see what you guys thought as far as people being able to afford it, the price. Are we restricting people from being able to come in that way? Kind of wanted to get your feelings on that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you go, Caitlin.
so tell me if I'm hearing this correctly. So basically, the people would be buying like whether that's like an individual pass or like family passes or however that works for like a certain amount of money, and then whoever has the passes, families, individuals, that's who's allowed in the park. Anyone who does not have a pass cannot come.
Correct. So that's where I'm
Okay.
kind of throwing that out there to kind of see if that's even a good idea. I just kind of something that got brought up from one of the other members that had started a park. That's what they do. So it does limit the amount of people that can come in, but then I also feel like it's restricting everyone to be able to afford to do it, and that's not necessarily the route I want to take, but I kind of just want to see like what your feelings were towards something like that.
I think it's a good idea for sure. I think it's a good way to maintain the park in the sense of like you'll have money coming in regularly, and that would keep up maintenance or security or however that would work. Um, but I think also like limiting people who can't necessarily afford the passes. I mean, I guess we could make it affordable depending upon what the park look like, what the park is going to look like, and what's going to be involved. But I mean, it sounds like it's going to be, I don't know, kind of costly to keep it up if there's like tennis courts and a swim and we want to make sure it's safe. So what if there's like certain, I don't know, maybe hours of the day or like certain days of the week, or maybe it's like Sundays, anybody can come. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that I mean it's definitely something that we can throw out there. But I don't want to discriminate anybody from being able to come there. So I just didn't really know how to kind of go about that, and if you guys had any suggestions.
My other concern with that too is there's other parks in the community. So what's going to stop someone from going to other parks in the community instead of paying for the park that you're trying to open? So we might not have that continuous money because they're going to choose to go to parks that are free.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like creating like diversity amongst our, not diversity, I'm sorry, like I can't think of the word right now, but it's going to make our community basically separate into like economic statuses. For people who can't afford it, you're going to go to other parks we don't have to pay for. The park that you do have to pay for is going to be more of a ritzy park, or you know, where the wealthy people go, or however you want to look at it.
Yeah, I definitely can feel that. And I think that's why I wanted to present it still, just so it was an option. But I feel like that's something that we all kind of are weeding out. Is that how you guys are feeling?
The passes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just kind of put that on hold. So do you feel like then going the route of security, a gated park, limited hours would be the best route for where it's at?
Yeah, I do. And I think that all of like the avenues that we're exploring, like it's very like evident that you've like thought this out, Jade, and that you want what's best for community and its members, and not to have kind of like a segregated park essentially. So I think that all of these are very good ideas, but I think that if you wanted to make it more of like a community like togetherness type thing, that it probably should have like the limited hours and the like maybe a gate or something along those lines.
Okay. What about just trying to think of different funding options? How do you guys feel about having them pay to park? I mean, there would be walk-in availability, which would be free. But there would also, like, if you had a carload full of people going for the day,
Right.
maybe a couple dollars for parking.
I don't think that's a bad idea, but the only thing like playing, I guess, devil's advocate here is, would that cause, like where the park is located, would that cause people who don't want to pay for parking to like park on the streets or the neighborhood or wherever, and then just make other people upset?
Right.
Our local businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about the whole crowding, other businesses, other parking lots, because it is so close to, it is in the city limits. So I guess I didn't really think about that. So that is a good point. I'll definitely think about that when I rewrite the proposal up.
Or I wonder if you could like maybe the surrounding businesses that are right there. I wonder if you could like partner with the businesses, and maybe like they would, I don't know, fund or give some money towards the park, just in the fact of like it's bringing more people within that area, so maybe their businesses will do better. So maybe they might put some money towards that.
Yeah, I was actually hoping to be able to kind of go around, since it is so close to some of those restaurants, shops, to kind of be kind of a touristy spot too. So it's not just in the middle of nowhere. That's kind of why I picked the spot that it's in, to be able to bring those community, members in, and to kind of get them to where they are for it.
I have two things, and I'll say them both, and then we can open it up to the group. One concern that I thought of again was, is there any liability with us having a water park there? I don't know what type of, if we need insurance for something like that, just to, or if there's going to be a pool. I know you didn't say that, but if there was some type of a pool, having a lifeguard, things like that, those liabilities. And then the other is just kind of a thought. Is there going to be an area, or could there be an area where you could hold events? So maybe we have local artists come in and play music, or have bigger artists come in and, the tickets are $15, $20. So that way, they can get a portion, the artist can, and then the community park could get some of that money too.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I do have a gazebo, like for like birthday parties, picnics type of reunion. setting, but I think that maybe we could try to work in maybe like a stage, or since a gazebo is covered, maybe like a bigger area or something that could transition into like a stage for concerts or bands or plays or skits or whatever we wanted to kind of bring in to help bring in more funding too for that. So I could definitely try to rework that area maybe, if that's something that you think that, like, if you guys think that would be beneficial.
I think it would work.
Yeah, I think not only is the artist idea like a very good idea, but I think it would also bring people to the park. So one, if they haven't been there before, like maybe they'll come back. Two, it's just like family entertainment, depending on the band, I suppose. And it could be it could bring in some like monetary for the park. So
Yeah, I think definitely that's something that I wrote down to kind of add, which is a good idea. And what was your other question? What was before that, Morgan? I forgot.
The liability concerns with having any type of water, fountain water park, for kids to play in.
Yeah, so I kind of added this like within the last couple months, because I was talking to someone and they said that they had one. A lot of work went into it, but they said it was definitely doable, and was worth it. But I did worry about the insurance and liability, so I've been kind of looking into that. I also have a contact that who is a lawyer, and kind of got their opinion on it as far as like maybe what route we should go, what would be the best for the city and the most affordable route. So I don't know if you guys have any recommendations for kind of how to go about like the insurance, or if you guys know about anything like that, what we would need.
I know from like a funding like aspect of it, insurance will be like a little bit more hefty, just because there is so much liability and people being around it and just like the danger water can cause in general. But I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary that like we couldn't do for sure.
Okay, perfect.
yeah,
I'll
you think
definitely-
even like what's the word I'm looking for? Like like safety checks or whatever for even like the playground equipment that'll be necessary, or like the water underground for all that stuff will have to be done too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of other things that I didn't really think about once I started this, and it's definitely brought me to figure out this is a lot bigger and way over my head than what I thought. So definitely, I appreciate you guys being able to meet with me to talk about it. So just kind of to wrap up a little bit, is there anything you guys feel like we should add to it, as far as like sites, like different activities or things that you think we should add to the park?
I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, but like what if like there was like a little garden or like sitting area for like older people to kind of like read, sit outside, chat with their friends, whatever, aside from like the trails and stuff. Because I mean, obviously the families would use that, but maybe to bring like the older crowd to it too.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I know I've been to parks where they have like a sitting area, kind of like you were talking about, Caitlin, and they have the wooded area, so that way like bird watchers can come and look at things like that, or feed the birds, stuff like that, to bring in that natural habitat too.
Perfect. Jensen, any ideas or things you want to add?
No, I think that's a really good idea, and I think that really brings in like a whole other like kind of like generational idea. Not that that could just be for older people, because I know, speaking for myself, I would very much enjoy that too. But instead of I don't know, like a concert maybe that they wouldn't enjoy, or like the water thing that they might not have, like that's something too for all ages to enjoy. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's a great addition. So I'll also add that to the proposal. I think being able to go across the board with ages and just giving them the diversity of different options when they come is kind of really what I'm looking for. So thank you for bringing that up. I didn't really think about maybe something for that population. Anything that you guys think is something that you don't think is going to work out, something you want to eliminate?
I personally don't think there's anything I would like to eliminate. I just think there's a lot of things that like we need to just like really just go over and solidify certain areas of it, like security. I think there's a lot to go over with that. Like I don't know if cameras are a good idea. I don't know if a gate is a good idea. But as for like eliminating anything, I don't think there's anything that you should necessarily eliminate.
Okay. Morgan, Jensen, anything?
I agree. I don't think necessarily eliminating anything. I guess it just depends on the space because we don't want to have it where the basketball court and the tennis court are right on top of each other. I think we just want to be able to look at the space that we have and what we can fit in there. And like I said, not eliminating anything is just more of those concerns. Like we had all talked about, and the water park is my biggest concern, or the water area is my biggest concern. But still, if we can make it work, I think that'd be really beneficial for the kids. So
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it's very clear that you've put a lot of thought into the project, Jade, and that you've explored a lot of the different avenues as far as like safety, what's best for the community, and just being an advocate for people in the community. So
Okay, perfect. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, I think I'm just gonna kind of maybe rewrite the proposal so you guys can take it to the board. Anything else you want me to add or change at this point to the proposal?
nope.
No? Okay, I will make those
Okay.
additions and definitely jot down some questions for the board as far as how to kind of proceed. I will also look into the insurance as well and the liability situation because I think that's going to play a huge role in funding and maybe we might just eliminate the splash park in general. But I definitely just want to get the ducks in the row and make sure that we have everything that we need to know how much that's going to cost. So I will work on that. And if you guys have any questions that you need to shoot me throughout the next couple weeks while I'm working on this, don't be afraid to email me. But I really appreciate you guys being able to meet with me and go over my proposal. But yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. But if not, then that's all I got.
Thank you.
perfect.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank
ya.
you.
She left.
I don't
I
know.
didn't know if we were going to talk.